let people aspire to be great. I think Horizon is all about that.
Horizon, an American saga. Rated R. Under 17, not admitted without parent. Only in theaters tomorrow. Get tickets now.
Balance of Nature supplements. Changing the world one life at a time.
I am 87 years old, and I am an RN. My PhD work is in anatomy and physiology. I watched your advertisement on TV, and I thought, I'll try it for just a month. I have stayed on it. Just think it is a marvelous product.
Splash into your summer with our summer savings. Go to balanceofnature.com and get 50% off your first set as a preferred customer by using discount code BALANCE.
This is the Tri-State News with Curtis Duncan.
A new federal report shows traffic deaths fell in Kansas in the first quarter of the year, but not in some neighboring states. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration found that in the first 3 months of this year, 68 people did not survive Kansas crashes. That's down almost 22% from the same period last year. Traffic deaths nationally have been falling since 2022. Federal officials say the number of dead is still too high, and distracted driving is one cause. Traffic deaths increased in Missouri by 16% in this first part of the year. In Nebraska, the highway deaths rose 34%. Nearly 9% of Kansans don't have health insurance. That's according to census data. But for Kansas Hispanics, that percentage more than doubles. The Kansas Health Institute will host an event today in Topeka to discuss why that disparity exists.
Now, the Tri-State's most accurate and dependable forecast on U-Rock 102.5.
With your updated forecast, I'm staff meteorologist Paul Trombley from the Weatherology Weather Center. A blend of clouds and sun today with highs around 93. Winds out of the south, 15 to 20 miles per hour. Partly cloudy skies again tonight. Slight chance of thunderstorms. Lows level off around 69. Highs level off around 92 tomorrow. Mainly sunny skies. Cooler Saturday and Sunday with highs in the mid-80s. Slight chance of thunderstorms Sunday. Taking a look at the extended forecast, 102 Monday, 95 Tuesday, and 92 on Wednesday. To recap, a high of 93 today, low of 69 tonight, high of 92 tomorrow. Get up to the minute weather updates from the Weatherology Weather Center. I'm staff meteorologist Paul Trombley on this NWKS radio station. Right now, it's 68 degrees.
A smooth, close Barbasol shave in the morning lifts your confidence. That rich, creamy lather will catapult you to greatness. Nothing can stop you today. Well, except that traffic jam. Barbasol, it's a can of can-do.
At Progressive, we know money can't buy happiness. But money did buy your boat, where you find peace fishing, unlike at home with 3 teenage daughters. Because fish never argue about who stole whose crop top, or get mad the other fish used up all the hot water. No, they just swim around, never embarrassed to be seen with you in public. So save money by bundling your boat or RV insurance with home or auto from Progressive. And buy more happiness, or something close to it. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states.
When life spells heartburn, how do you spell relief? ROLAIDS.
What about when life spells spicy wings?
It's still ROLAIDS. Rolaids, powerful heartburn relief. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
For many in Northwest Kansas, this is the biggest 2 weeks of the year. It's wheat harvest time. This is Frontier Ag CEO Stan Remington. On behalf of Frontier Ag's employees, we wish you a safe and prosperous harvest. Frontier Ag has several marketing options available to help guide you through the current marketing environment. Contact any of our locations throughout Northwest Kansas so that we may help you with your grain needs. Frontier Ag, farmer-owned and proud to serve.
Keep your ride running at peak performance by scheduling an appointment with the Daves at Hurl Chevrolet GMC in Goodland, Kansas. Hurl's has a full-service service department where they'll work on all makes and models, not just GM. They do tire repair and replacement. They'll make sure your AC is running at its best for these hot summer months. Plus, customers who bought a used vehicle from Hurl's get a lifetime warranty and reduced oil change prices. So get your appointment scheduled today by calling 785-890-0000. That's 890-0000 and ask for Dave. You're sure to get one of them.
The Farmers State Bank of Oakley has been financing agriculture since the day we opened our doors. Hello, this is Corbin, and we are proud to be your locally owned partner in ag. We invite you to come and visit with us when you need to purchase new or used farm equipment, or need any type of agriculture or business loan. We have the knowledge, experience, and financial resources to keep you growing. the Farmers State Bank of Oakley, a tradition of community and agriculture for over 115 years. Member FDIC.
When you walk into your local Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware, you'll see that Nick and the staff have a little bit of everything for the warmer months ahead. Keep the lawn in shape with mowers, blowers, and trimmers from Craftsman, Toro, and Ego. Freshen up the look of a room or the whole place with Benjamin Moore paints. Keep the family fed and happy with grills from Traeger, Weber, and Blackstone. And be sure to take advantage of the lower lumber prices. Plus, they're looking for people to join their amazing teams at Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware, with locations in Goodland and Colby. Open every day but Sunday.
Your livelihood is important to you. You work hard to succeed in your farming operation, crop, livestock, home, vehicles, and special needs. We have you covered. Discounts are available for new business, remodeling, hail-resistive roofing, multi-policy, and many more. Optional coverage endorsements as well for machinery ingestion and equipment breakdown. Umbrella coverage for additional coverage on your home, farm, and auto. See the girls at the insurance agency at 1020 Main in Goodland or call 785-899-5011.
Fast Play is the fastest way to play the Kansas Lottery because you'll know if you've won in an instant. And hey, don't you wish more things in life worked in an instant, like the DMV, the dentist, or wisdom? But that's okay because you'll love playing Fast Play. Just ask for it wherever you play the Kansas Lottery, and boom, you'll be on your way in a jiffy. And with multiple games to play fast, you can win in lots of ways fast, up to $100,000 to be exact. So when you want to make a good day great, just ask for Fast Play from the Kansas Lottery. And if you want to get the details, dash on over to kslottery.com. And wow, I think I'm out of time. They went really fast. Whew.
Celebrate Independence Day with wholesale fireworks, America's fireworks authority. Shop artillery shells, 500-gram cakes, novelties, sparklers, and more. 175 items priced at $9.99 or less. Wholesale Fireworks has it all and at a great value. Join the Wholesale Fireworks Rewards Program and get a show starter free, along with money-saving coupons. Wholesale Fireworks, we sell the big stuff. Find a superstore or a tent near you at wholesalefireworks.com. America's best fireworks are wholesale fireworks.
Rise and shine. It's butt whipping time.
It's time for the Morning Blitz with Ross Volkmer.
That broadcast school has really paid off.
And Christian Peck-Dimit.
Do you want to keep this job? Shut up, listen, learn.
The region's only local sports talk show, discussing it all from the preps to the pros.
What time is it? Game time.
Simulcasting on AM 730 Fox Sports Tri-State, streaming online at nwksradio.net and the Rockingham app.
They are everywhere.
The Blitz is presented by the Insurance Agency, the Farmers State Bank in Oakley, the Cowboy Corner Express, and Equity Bank of Hoxie, Quinter, and Grinnell.
Stop what you're doing and listen.
Line shot up the left field line, fair by less than a foot. Blanco scores. Shelby racing for second. Royals lead 2-1.
And the pitch is hit to center field and shallow. Coming on is Doyle. Gonna slide and make the grab.
There's a smash, right center field. Forget about it. The marvelous one. Shohei Ohtani has done it again.
With the first pick in the 2024 NBA Draft, the Atlanta Hawks select Zachary Rizache from Lyon, France, and France's J.L. Morin-Bress.
Good Thursday morning, everybody. Glad you're with us here on the Morning Blitz. Interesting start to the morning, at least here in Goodland, America. There's precipitation on the ground. I don't know what this stuff is. It's weird. But to have some rain to wake up to is pretty rare in these parts of the world. So, hope everyone's having a good start to your Thursday. Of course, we're broadcasting live on AM 730 Fox Sports Tri-State, 1025 URock, the Rockingham app, nwksradio.net. So many ways to get a hold of us and watch us as well. Through the Hurl Chevrolet GMC video stream, where you will see this morning we kick things off in a rare occurrence, 3 wide. As our guest of the day, our good friend Bryce Simon joins us from Motor City Hoops. He's on with us here this morning to talk the NBA draft. Gentlemen, good morning. How are we doing today?
Hey, Ross, you know that the reason it's raining is because harvest started. And as soon as wheat harvest starts, I don't know, there's something with combines come out of the sheds, they start up, and then that somehow gets the rain. I'm a science teacher. I don't know the science behind that theory, but it seems to be true every year. Yeah.
It's a lot like washing your car, right?
Yeah.
You wash your car, and then you have to go to work the next day, and then it rains. So that's the thing. It's combines and cars, and something along those lines. But anyway, little light precip this morning here. I don't think it's enough to slow Harvest down by too much time, but it was weird to wake up and look out and see the street was wet. And that tells you how much rain we've gotten this year, at least in these parts. So anyway, Bryce, how's it going this morning down there in Lakin?
It's good. We just got done with our last day of weights here for the summer. We give our guys July off. So it was
really?
In terms of the weight room, we'll still do some football and some other sport specific stuff, but kind of let them be kids in July is what we choose to do. We give them a lot to do in June, and then, the 4th of July and the fair and stuff like that. Go do that stuff.
All right, you've opened up a massive can of worms now that I have to investigate on. So how does Coach Bamberger think about that, being the football coach? I mean, I'm sure he's behind it at some point in time, but that's a rarity what you see, not being in the weight room the entire summer getting ready for the fall sports season.
Yeah, listen, I don't want to speak for Coach Bam, but what I would say, Coach Bam would be in there 7 days a week, all summer long if he could.
That's more like it.
But Coach Bam is very giving and understanding that we're trying to build multiple athletes in multiple sports across boys, girls, middle school, everything. So I think he's tried to give a little bit in regards to that. And, so we go 3 days a week for the month of June. July, we will do our own football stuff. That's actually when we do football camp. And so we'll bring them back after the 4th that week to do some football stuff, little kids, those type of things. But yeah, we give them, because they're lifting all school year, hit it hard here in June. And so I think it's just one of those things where we've decided, hey, here's a month. And then we'll do some voluntary stuff in August to almost start to build back into the school year and the sports seasons.
That is fascinating.
If Lakin goes to a football camp, if you guys do,
we do.
Is that during July then?
Yes. So essentially what we'll do is, the mandatory moratorium's coming up anyway. Yeah. We'll bring our kids back after that's over. We'll have some workouts and all of that stuff. We'll do our actual week of team camp for a couple practices, and then we go to Southwestern, and that's where we've gone every year I've been here. I think that's where they were going before, and we'll go down there and do the actual playing against other teams and all of that stuff for a day and a half. And then when we come back from that, it's really 2 weeks off, and then 1st of August you get into some of those, hey, you can get back in the weight room a little bit and some voluntary workouts and those type of things.
I'm trying to think. I think there's other schools that I think maybe take the month of August off from the weight room, possibly. So maybe you just shift it around a month. I guess I was thinking, boy, that seems so rare. But now that I think about it more, I think more teams maybe in August say, hey, we're not going to be in the weight room during the month of August. You have a couple weeks here to get away and do something, and we'll pick back up late August.
I think what we kind of got into, and this may have come from that COVID year where the schedule was all sorts of crazy, was, hey, let's give them the back half of July where essentially we don't schedule anything. And then let's get them back at the beginning of August and start building back into this thing by getting them back in the weight room and doing some speed and agility training on the field. And that will work them into being ready for their first week of their fall sports. So there's all sorts of different philosophies and ways of doing this thing. I know we definitely don't have it down to a science down here. We still got a long ways to go and a lot of things to learn and get better at.
Once again, you are hearing the voice of Bryce Simon of Motor City Hoops. He joins us here this morning. We're going to talk NBA basketball at some point in time, but we love to talk local sports as well. And Coach Simon just happened to drop a tiny little bomb on me. I was like, oh, that's so fascinating. But as you can see, we're 3 wide on the Hurl Chevrolet GMC video stream here on this Thursday morning. Hope everyone's having a great start to the day. Another cooler day than what it's been. 93 the expected high compared to the 100 and whatevers that we've been experiencing here over the past couple of days. Right now, 68 degrees, getting things going here on a Thursday morning. Well, you two, I'm sure you guys watched the NBA draft from beginning to end. I did not. So I have a big question, but I want to get first your initial thoughts of the draft. Christian, I'll let you get your first thoughts in on the draft yesterday, just the overall thoughts.
I mean, it was sort of what we expected, which was the fact that there wasn't much that we could expect going into this draft. I was sort of explaining yesterday that you get the first 6-8 picks in most drafts, and with Shams and Woj, you sort of know roughly what each team is looking at. Oh, they're eyeing this guy or eyeing that guy. And then after that, as you get into the late lottery, it sort of descends into chaos. And it really was chaos from the very start, the very jump. And all the way through, there were guys that went in the late teens that I thought were probably going to go in the top 5. There were a couple guys, one in particular, who went in the top 5 or 6 that I thought I was going to see, back at the end of 8 or 9 or 10. It's just the way that this draft was, that there wasn't really any clear cut number 1 or 2 or 3. And even the reports in the sort of insider analysis that we got didn't always prove to be true. The biggest riser I saw in the last week or so was Donovan Clingan, getting a ton of hype to go up near the top 3. He ended up falling back to 7. Dalton Connect was a guy whose name was thrown around with the Detroit Pistons as number 5. In an absolute steal from the Lakers at 17. So it was just a lot of question marks and unexpectedness, and just the nature of the draft this year, because there was just so much that we didn't really know or didn't have set in stone going in. Bryce, we've got a lot to talk about, of course, because there are so many question marks and unexpected moves. But we'll start with that number 1 pick. There wasn't really, for the first time in a while, a true number 1 going into this draft, or true top 3 or so. But it ended up being Risache up there at number 1. Solid shooter, big wing. Maybe not what I thought the Hawks were looking for, which was more of a true center. But your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I like Zachary Risache. He was the number 2 player on my personal board. I would have taken Alex Sarr if I was the Atlanta Hawks. I've just been high on Sarr through this whole thing. I think he's the archetype of big that NBA teams need. And I think they could draft him, move Clint Capella, and move on with that. With that said, I'm fine with Risache. I think he slots in well next to Jalen Johnson. People are going to say this about you've said it. There is no player that looks, quote unquote, like a number 1 pick in this draft. People call it a bad draft. That's true at the top. It's a bad, flat draft at the top. There was a bunch of guys that are like, if this dude went number 5, that would be really intriguing. I don't love him at number 1. And so I think what it sounds like to me, and the more we've heard, Alex Sarr and his representation didn't want him to go to Atlanta. They wanted him to go to Washington, and they kind of played their cards in that way. And as I've got in this world more and more, those are things I've found that happen more and more than what maybe I realized before that was refusal to work out for teams, keep intel close to the vest, like those type of things to try to get their players and their clients where they want them to go. And that's how it ended up playing out with Risache 1 and Alex Sarr 2.
Bryce Simon of Motor City Hoops joining us via the Hurl Chevrolet GMC video stream. He's kind of our own NBA expert here on the Morning Blitz. Okay, I'm going to ask my big question that I've had since I watched a little bit of the draft. I thought about it a lot this morning. When in the world did international basketball overtake the American basketball?
No.
I don't have anything against the internationals. I don't, but when did it happen? Because there are more and more, it seems like, higher profile or better players internationally than there are American. I'm pretty sure James Naismith was American and built the game, here in America. So why is the international player all of a sudden a sexier pick than the American player? That's the first part of my question.
No, we have two. We do not have enough time to do this conversation because you're going to get me on a soapbox that you got me on.
It for me.
No, I can't get on this soapbox this morning. I think it's easy to look at it that way, right? Because number 1 and number 2 were foreign-born players, but 3 is Reed Shepherd, 4 is Steph Castle, 5 is Ron Hollins. 6, so 3 of the first 6 are foreign-born. But then you do, again, Clingan, American-born, who went 8, Dillingham, Zach Edey. So I know it seems like it, but I don't think it's as much, and it's just I think it was because it was at the top. There were a lot of American-born players that got. Where it really stands out to me is when you look at the NBA currently and who the best players in the NBA are right now. That's where it really stands out with Jokic and Doncic and Giannis. SGA is from Canada. Joel Embiid. Like, all of these guys are non-American. And so I think my quick answer here is, my understanding is there's more priority in those countries on practice over games, especially at a young age. And America has gone the other way of prioritizing weekend MAYB and AAU tournaments and not as much skill development in the gym throughout the week. That's my short answer.
I mean, fundamentals, pretty much. You're saying they're practicing the fundamentals a whole lot more on an individual basis instead of just going and, like you said, playing games every weekend. Because I like, this is what I saw, and I know this is just this draft, and so I'm not going to put all my stock in this. But you look at this last draft when they Zachary, the first pick. I forgot. Riza. Yeah, I think he averaged 10.5 points per game. That's your number one pick. Now, I know, and they were talking about, his strengths, he sees the floor well. Okay, that's great, but he's a poor free throw shooter. He doesn't have a great mid-game or a close-up. I was watching some pre-draft stuff. Like, that's your number one pick? That guy is, and then Sar. I got to find this tweet here real quick, gentlemen. I'm sorry. This made me laugh really hard last night. This is from Frank Mason, of course, who played at KU. He said, I played this young guy in France this past season. No way he's the number one pick in the NBA draft. LOL, but I guess. I mean, I don't know. It's so weird to me. The numbers do not look like, a number one overall pick. But once again, it's probably the long-term investment. What are you going to see with the development of this player?
Here's the other thing that's important to note with this stuff. Zachary Riza was playing in a professional league over there. And so that's different than playing in college basketball here as an 18-year-old for most of that season. The same thing with Alex Sarr. He was playing in the NBL against my point being, they're playing against grown men who are professionals, who maybe had a cup of tea in the NBA and now are finishing off their career somewhere else. So the level of this is what makes the draft so hard, guys. I think I may have talked about this before. As an evaluator on a daily basis, I have to watch a kid who maybe plays in the Big Sky, which is Dylan Jones, Weber State, who got drafted by the Oklahoma City Thunder. Not a great conference in Division I basketball, right? And then I have to watch SEC basketball, and then I have to watch G League, and then I have to watch Euro League, and then I have to watch the NBL. And not only are all these kids in different leagues, they're also different ages. Ron Holland is 18 years old and doesn't turn 19 until August. Dalton Connect, who I love, by the way, and think that was a steal, is 23 years old and has had 5 years of some sort of college basketball. This is what makes this so hard, guys, is these players are all over the place. And then you also have to determine what their role is going to be. Dylan Jones, who I just mentioned, is this really interesting, like 6'6", stocky wing, but he played on the ball at Weber State. Well, that's not what he's going to do in the NBA. So now you have to project, okay, he does it this way in college, but he's actually going to play this role in the NBA. I don't mean to discount football. I love football, but a wide receiver in college is also going to be a wide receiver in the NFL. Now, you may ask him to do a little bit of different things, but I think projecting some of that stuff and seeing it is a little bit easier with regards to that. I just lost every football fan that's listening to your show. Just projecting these roles and what they're going to be asked to do is a little bit different.
No, you're right. I mean, it's a storyline every time you get a Lamar Jackson. It's once a draft, maybe you ask a guy realistically to switch positions. You did mention, we've talked about it very briefly, Dalton Connect dropping all the way to 17 seems like not only a steal, but a perfect fit for the Lakers. Buzelis also going all the way to 11 for the Bulls. Do you have sort of a steal or a handful of guys you think are good value for where they were taken?
Yeah, I mean, if you just go off my board, I had Dalton Connect number 6. He goes 17. So that's great value for the Lakers. As you said, adding floor spacing is really important for them. My guy, Deron Holmes, this is going to be close to home for you guys. I mean, this is the closest NBA team to where you guys are at. He was 15 on my board. He goes 22 to the Nuggets. I think that's a great pick for the Nuggets. He's going to fit in really well there. Isaiah Collier was 18 on my board. He goes 29 to the Jazz. So that's another one. So those would be the biggest ones in terms of Connect. I think was the biggest quote unquote faller. That was not what I thought was going to happen. I don't know if it was his age, his defense, whatever, but a guy that's 23 years old, that has the body he already has and the ability to shoot and potentially score at 3 levels, is a great addition for the Lakers.
Bryce Simon joining us on the Hurl Chevrolet GMC video stream talking the NBA draft last night. On the flip side, what was the biggest reach in your opinion?
Yeah, let me go through. Dylan Jones, who I've mentioned, was a pretty big reach for me in terms of just where I had him and where he ended up, 25 spot difference there. Terrence Shannon Jr., AJ Johnson, who the Bucks took. So I'm looking at 10 or 12 spots there. Who was another one? Zach Edey. I don't hate the Zach Edey pick for the Grizzlies. I think he makes a lot of sense, but I had him 20 on my board and he went number 9. So that would be one. Here's another one. It's not as many spots. Tijan Salon, who went number 6 to the Hornets. I had him 12, but the Hornets took him 6. I think that was one. If you're going to take Salon, they probably should have traded back. When you're talking lottery stuff, 6 spots is quite a bit. So those are some of the names. And then I think the big one is Rob Dillingham. Rob Dillingham is a very polarizing player because he can really score the basketball, but he is super tiny. Minnesota traded real draft capital in the future to go up to number 8 and take him, and I had him 17 on my board. So we're talking almost 10 spots, and you gave up future draft assets to select him, even though I think he's a really interesting fit with that team.
It's interesting that you bring that up because they got Dillingham, and then later in that first round with their actual pick, the T-Wolves ended up getting Terrence Shannon Jr., who Ross absolutely loves, if you couldn't tell. But even he has some holes in his game, the assists and the floor vision key among them. It seems like a very sort of dude-heavy draft, so to speak, just for the Timberwolves, getting a couple of guys that can be shifty and go get buckets. But how do you feel they fit with a team that's rising in a stacked West here?
Well, I think they fit nicely if that's what they can do, because you know what that team does really well? They defend, because Anthony Edwards defends, Jaden McDaniels defends, Nickeil Alexander-Walker defends, and then say what you want about Rudy Gobert, he defends at the rim. So I think they can insulate Rob Dillingham. And listen, like Terrence Shannon Jr. is a very interesting prospect. He's older, super athletic and twitchy. We've seen him get buckets. I think he has a chance to be disruptive defensively. And it's been kind of weird with him because I know for me, I just avoided talking about him as the off the court stuff played out. And not knowing anything else, he went to court. He was found not guilty. Just seeing some tweets and stuff like that, it sounded like that definitely should have been the result of that trial. And so you can wipe that clean and just evaluate him as a basketball player without having any other caveats as far as I know and what I know about that situation. And he can, again, older prospect going into a team that needs to win now. Those guys I think have more value whenever you're talking about a Timberwolves team that needs to build out their roster and continue to push forward.
Bryce, I don't know how much longer we have you for here. I know you got to get going, but I wanted to get your thoughts, since you do Motor City Hoops, your thoughts on the first round selection of Ron Holland II.
Yeah, so I'm literally about to go on my podcast, The Pistons Pulse. We're going to start as soon as I leave here, and I'm waiting for the comments. It's going to be interesting because I was live last night over on Game Theory, so I haven't had a real chance to interact and do some of that stuff. Ron Holland is interesting. There's a chance he's the best player in the draft. He has real two-way wing potential, which is maybe the most valuable archetype in the NBA. But there's major shooting concerns. As I mentioned earlier, he's only 18 years old, doesn't turn 19 for over a month still. Defensively, he plays really hard, but there's some fundamental things he's got to get better at. The thing with Detroit is they needed floor spacing, and if there's one major hole right now in Ron Holland's game, it's that. I will tell you guys this. Fred Vinson is a name that he just got hired as an assistant coach. He's known as kind of this shot doctor, shot guru. If he's able to fix some of these shots in Detroit, that dude is going to be the most, valued assistant coach in the NBA because he's got his work cut out with him. He's got his work cut out for him, with this roster as currently constructed. They got a lot of moves to make this offseason still, so let's let the whole thing play out.
Okay, one more quick one. Any big second round thoughts as we get ready for day 2?
Yeah, I like some of the names that are still on the board at the top guys. Kyle Filipowski was a guy I thought maybe would be a mid-first round pick. Tyler Smith. Tyler Kolick is a guy I think comes in and can be a backup point guard for a team day one. The Kansas kid, Johnny Furphy. This is interesting to me. Him staying in the draft, I assume probably meant he had a first-round guarantee. That obviously did not play out. I would guess we see him go off the board very, very early. And then what is the second round conversation without mentioning Bronny James? I've had a lot of people, they always ask me, I think he ends up going 55 or whatever it is to the Lakers.
Oh my
but
gosh.
yeah, that here's what stinks. There's some real talent in the second round, and we know that Bronny's going to be the name that everybody wants to talk about, regardless of everything else. So
Bryce, thank you so much for sparing a few moments with us here. I know you're very, very busy during the NBA draft, so thank you for taking some time. Appreciate it, and we'll catch up soon, all right?
Yep, thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Once again, that's Bryce Simon of Game Theory, Motor City Hoops. He does it all there, his NBA coverage, which, of course, you can follow along with him at Motor City Hoops on Twitter. Does a great job with all that stuff. But, yeah, I'd say a very interesting conversation there with him, and great to have him on. I'd say, Christian, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have our own thoughts, some more thoughts on that NBA draft first round. I have a few more players I want to mention that I thought were pretty neat selections yesterday, or some other storylines to get to. So we'll get to that next as we continue on a Thursday morning here on the Morning Blitz.
Thanks for calling Discover. This is Diego.
Hi, Diego. It's Jennifer Coolidge. I just want to say your cashback match makes me feel so special. It really inspired me.
That's great. Doubling the cash back you've earned at the end of your first year is what we do.
Well, I'm doubling everything now. Double dating, double dipping, double feature, double header, double whammy. Basically double or nothing.
You earn, we match. Discover Cashback Match. See terms at discover.com/creditcard.
Some people just know there's a better way to do things, like bundling your home and auto insurance with Allstate. Or going to the grocery store for milk instead of buying your own cow. There's an easier and better way. Save up to 25% when you bundle home and auto with Allstate.
Bundled savings vary by state and are not available in every state. Saving up to 25% is the countrywide average of the maximum available savings off the home policy. Allstate Vehicle and Property Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
It's time for a check of the markets with the Anderson Trade Group on the Kansas Farm and Ranch Radio Network.
Good morning. This is Kate Thompson with the Anderson Trade Group. Today is Thursday, June 27th. And on the overnights last night, July corn higher up half, Ascent at 420.5, September up a half, 426, December up a quarter at 436 3/4, and March corn up 3/4 at 449. July soybeans up 5.5 at 11.68 1/4. August up 4 3/4 at 11.47. September up 3 at 11.10 1/4, and November beans up 2 3/4 at 11.09 3/4. Chicago wheat July contract higher 8.5 at 5.49 3/4. September up 8 at 5.68.5. December up 8 at 5.91. March up 8 1/4 at 6.09 3/4. Kansas City wheat July contract up 4.5 today at 5.84.5. September up 3 3/4 at 5.88 1/4. December up 4 at 6.03, and March hard wheat up 5.5 at 6.16.5. On the stock market this morning, the Dow down $80 at 39,460. The S&P down 2 at 5,541. The Nasdaq down 12 at $20,000. Gold higher $19.80 an ounce to 2,333, and crude oil up 67 cents a barrel at 81.57. If you have any questions about marketing grain or would like to talk about risk management options, give our Colorado office a call, or here in our Kansas City office, myself, Tom Saludo, Jared Law, or Tyler Dosch at 913-748-3000.
Introducing Certain Herbicide, the latest corn innovation from BASF. It brings powerful PPO residual chemistry into a pre through early post application thanks to novel solid encapsulation technology. Apply from pre-plant to V3 and get up to 8 weeks of residual control or suppression of 79 broadleaf and grass weed species. Don't chase weeds all through the season. Attack them before they emerge with Certain Herbicide from BASF. Always read and follow label directions.
Water hemp, Palmer amaranth, and giant ragweed. Left undisturbed, they will become the most dangerous foes to corn plants. But in the early season, these weeds are at their weakest. Now is the time. A predator lurks. Certain herbicide attacks, unleashing full residual power before weeds have a chance to emerge. Pre or early post application, they are hopeless against such effective chemistry. Certain herbicide from BASF. Always read and follow label directions.
At Case IH, we know you work hard all year to maximize your yield at harvest. And to do that, you need a combine that works as hard as you do. That's why we built the new AF11 with more horsepower, more efficiency, and more capacity than any other combine out there. Plus, built-in automation to harvest more easily than ever before. To do more with every engine hour, you need equipment that's as good as you are. You need the best in your field. Visit your local Case IH dealer for more on the AF11.
Your livelihood is important to you. You work hard to succeed in your farming operation, crop, livestock, home, vehicles, and special needs. We have you covered. Discounts are available for new business, remodeling, hail-resistive roofing, multi-policy, and many more. Optional coverage endorsements as well for machinery, ingestion, and equipment breakdown. Umbrella coverage for additional coverage on your home, farm, and auto. See the girls at the insurance agency at 1020 Main in Goodland or call 785-899-5011.
Back to the Morning Blitz with Ross Volkmer.
Thanks again to Bryce Simon of Game Theory, Motor City Hoops, for hopping on, talking the NBA draft with us. We could have spent a whole 2 hours probably busy with him about all kinds of stuff. I could have spent a whole half hour talking about the weightlifting schedule.
That's wild.
Some reason blew my mind. I don't know why. But honestly, to be completely honest with you, and I know this is a side story, so we talk more NBA draft and we'll get to that, but it's actually in a way kind of brilliant. Do you want to know why? Because
I would love to.
Okay, so when most of the time the way it works is when you get done with school, kids are in a routine, so you keep them coming in the morning, all that stuff, and you get the weight. And usually the turnout for lifting weights and stuff in the morning is very, very good. And then when you get to 4th of July, you get right in the middle of summer. It's vacation time for some, and of course, wheat harvest is a big thing around here with kids helping out with that. And so you lose the attendance kind of during the 4th of July and then the moratorium. And then it's hard to get them back in because they got out of that routine. True. So by saying we're not going to do anything of weightlifting or early morning stuff in July, we're then going to pick things back up in August. You might have a chance of getting a better return coming back in August than you would really in July. So to me, I'm not saying that that's the way you have to do it, but it is fascinating to think of that and how that might actually benefit more than you would think, I guess.
No, I was sort of the same way. Once he mentioned that, I sort of did a double take and was taken aback. Really? Exactly.
Like after all these things we hear about how people are like, oh, we're working too hard, the kids. Oh, you're taking them a whole month? Wow.
That was one thing. Yeah, as that conversation went on, I sort of it made more and more sense. And that's one thing is it does track with what we've talked about with Bryce before, which is that idea that kids get sort of burnt out or we work them too hard, too young. And something about me, just personally, I'm very routine oriented, fine doing the same thing every day. I even prefer it, just the way I am. But not a lot of kids are like that, especially in high school when it's summertime. And even though you might be helping with harvest or doing this or that, sometimes the kids just need a couple of weeks to have a true summertime and to sleep in for a couple hours. And I think it's a good thing ultimately. And if anything, it probably come August or like he said, for some of the football kids down there in Lakin, come the end or the last week or so of July, it probably reinvigorates some of that maybe passion and drive to get better because now you've got it's almost like your little break and you're ready to go again.
And it's not like, and just being honest, if you look at it, it really hasn't impacted, I think, a whole lot of Lakin. They've been good in football. They've been good in basketball. They've had some good girls sports. So I don't think it's really had a negative impact with them doing this. So good for them. Good for them for kind of thinking outside the box a little bit here. I like it. And I kind of understand it. Anyway, back to the NBA draft. As we continue, a few more thoughts that I had, then I'll let Christian take over and let him spew his thoughts. But something that stood out to me, I agree 100%. Dalton Knecht was an absolute steal with the Lakers at 17. I think that's a consensus pick. I thought it was very interesting to see how many guys from Colorado were drafted in the first 20 picks. Cody Williams going to the Jazz at number 10. And then just 8 spots later, Tristan Da Silva from Colorado going to the Orlando Magic. Good for Tad Boyle and for Colorado basketball. 2 top 20 picks in this year's NBA draft. That's very, very impressive. Now, here's the funny thing. Da Silva is a guy who's kind of he's got a little international flavor to him. He was, I think, from Germany, or was kind of one of those Army brat kids, I believe. I have to double check that. Cody Williams was just a really high touted freshman. I think he was a McDonald's All-American and went to Colorado. So interesting stuff there. And then you mentioned Terrence Shannon from Illinois, which I thought, or from going to Minnesota, which I was excited to see where he went. I think that'd be fine. And then the last pick of the night, Baylor Shireman, the sharpshooter from Creighton, going to the Celtics. I love it. This is kind of the best part about being a guy or a player in the Baylor Shireman type of shoes. You're maybe not the most talented, but you're still pretty darn good. You don't have to go to a bad team. You can go to a really good team and be a really good player or a solid player on a really good team. That's what Baylor Shireman could be. He can be that guy that goes out there and hits threes. He can be that guy that can score on a team that's really, really, really good all around there. I thought that was a great pickup by the Celtics and a great landing spot for Baylor Shireman. So those are just a few of my thoughts from the NBA draft last night.
First off, I want to say any tangent that has to do with local sports, fine. I'm just fine shooting off.
We're in for it.
Why not? Exactly. We're all invested in that here, and I gotta say that I agree with Ross on a lot of these points. Terrence Shannon is much like his T-Wolves pick counterpart, like we talked about with Bryce. Maybe a pair of polarizing picks, but almost exactly what Bryce said was my thought, where that is a perfect fit with Minnesota, who had just a ton of offense, but struggled when Anthony Edwards wasn't on the floor or without the ball in his hands to shot create around him. And for those two guys, and I think Dillingham to a lesser extent, certainly Terrence Shannon, this is more true of, but to have in this first year, almost instant impact. Dillingham, I think, needs a couple, maybe not a couple years, but some time to put on some weight. That's his biggest sort of knock, is the frame. Put on a couple of pounds, be able to bump around with the bigger and more physical NBA defenders. But I think Shannon in particular is pretty close to an instant impact kind of guy on a team that's looking to compete instantly, fits their timeline. Along those lines, we've said it a couple times now, but I think this archetype of the older player struggled almost in this draft. There weren't as many taken of the upperclassmen that are a little bit more savvy, know what they're doing, more given to that instant impact because they're more, quotations here, NBA ready. We saw them, a couple of them fall to the next round. We'll see them drafted early there. But a lot of them we just saw fall real late in this round. Chief among them, Dalton Connect, who basically, once you got out of the top 10, any team that took him was automatically going to snap their fingers and be considered a winner of the draft. The fact that he got to the Lakers, who almost are a perfect fit for him. What do they need? Outside shooting. What do they need? A scorer off the bench. What do they need? Someone who can impact the game instantly and compete for them this year. All of those things fit him perfectly. And absolutely, I was going to talk about Baylor Shireman, because for the Celtics, I turned the draft off at about pick 27, went to go get ready for bed. I'm really trying to still get back off of my Pacific time here. But I took melatonin the whole 9. Hopefully we're getting that early bedtime back a little bit. But I got, if you were following along with the draft, Shams Charania was doing his little thing where, like, 90 seconds before the team picked, he'd just tweet, the Celtics are about to pick him, or the Pistons are about to pick him. And it sort of annoyed me, but, he's good at his job. And I got the alert that Baylor Shireman goes to the Celtics, and I just went, the rich get richer, because my goodness, he's a little bit older. He's maybe not as quick. Like Ross said, maybe not as talented, but oh my goodness, can he have instant impact? And I know I keep using that phrase, but he can impact winning in his first year on a Celtics team that, I mean, what was their one thing that you could knock them for? And it's a short list of things that you could critique the Celtics for this year with an almost perfect team, but one of them was consistent bench play and consistent bench scoring. Baylor Shireman gives them an extra added level to that, and they just had to sit there at the very bottom of the first round and just accept him with open arms, just wait for him, watch him fall and fall and fall. I thought that was a really, really good pick. Last guy I want to talk about is someone that I really wish that we had more time with, Bryce Simon, for a lot of reasons, but one of them was just going to be asking him about this. Had the question on the front of my tongue, but he's literally live right now with the Pistons Pulse. Was Denver's pick. Deron Holmes out of Baylor is, I think...
He's out of Dayton, actually.
What did I say? Baylor?
Dayton.
Baylor. They've got, he is out of Dayton. You're 100% correct, but it's listed wrong on the Athletic here. They've got
Deron Holmes? He's out of Dayton, I think.
Oh, he's 100% out of Dayton.
He's out of Dayton.
I just read it wrong. He absolutely is. Great player.
You're still thinking of Baylor Shireman.
No, that's what I'm saying. The Athletic has it listed wrong. They say Deron Holmes.
No, Deron Holmes is out of Dayton.
No, you're 100% correct. He shored up that Dayton defense and was essentially the rock sitting behind it, which is a little bit ironic because a lot of question marks that have to do with him is his fit defensively. That's the one thing I'm not sure about with this Denver team. But gosh, if he isn't a good basketball player, and he's almost the perfect archetype of what you're looking for out of a modern NBA big. Deron Holmes II, the Denver traded up to get him first off, so it shows they really wanted him, and the instant reports on the ESPN broadcast went, oh yeah, everyone thought Denver was going to get him.
Yeah, I mean, that was the thing. It was hilarious because I know Dan Lucero, our good friend, he, of course, is a big Nuggets guy, being a Denver guy, and he was like, we probably could have got him where we wanted him, but if we would have kept our mouth shut and not been so excited about Deron Holmes. I mean, they probably could have got him there, but they kind of talked and, shot their mouth off about how, hey, we'd love Deron Holmes. And, they view him as an NBA depth addition who can play alongside Jokic or behind him. So, to me, he kind of reminds me a little bit, and from what I've seen, which is very limited, kind of like an Aaron Gordon, kind of maybe a younger version of Aaron Gordon, highly athletic, big guy who can run a little bit, might be a little bit bigger than Aaron Gordon's size-wise, but I don't know if he's a phenomenal perimeter player, as in scorer like that. I don't consider Gordon to be that type of player, really. So,
if anything, I think he's probably a better perimeter player than Aaron Gordon is. Though AG, as much as I love him, is very up and down. If we were having this conversation in like the 3/4 point of the season, we'd be like, he's a much worse perimeter shooter than Aaron Gordon is, and everyone would be and then if we talk about him, if we had this conversation in the second round, we'd go, he's a much worse shooter than Aaron Gordon is, and everyone would go, yeah. So AG is a little bit inconsistent, suffers from that from the outside. But Deron Holmes definitely bigger than AG, and that's actually not a comparison I had thought about, but not necessarily a bad one for Denver. What did they need was exactly what Ross said: depth and front court depth. Bench scoring hurt them badly in the playoffs this year. This is a dude that can come in and give them some points off the bench, because what do you expect centers to do, or what does your perfect center in the modern NBA, what do you want him to be able to do? Shoot the basketball, spread the floor, and actually have a handle. He's got a pretty nice handle. They list him at 6'9". I think he's a touch taller than that, closer to 6'11", really. He moves well with the ball in his hands. He's got solid shooting touch, not only as a set jumper, but also just nice with the floaters and solid on the pull-ups, though I think those could improve. The question mark will, like IB said, defensively, but gosh, I think that's just a great pick. The one thing would be how much they gave up for him, and having to trade up because,
Right.
like Russ said, kind of ran their mouth off a little bit in Denver. But I think that's a good fit.
Some guys, once again, to keep your eyes on in the second round. If you missed any of the, Bryce Simon talked about this. Johnny Furphy did not go in the first round, which was, I think, a little bit of a surprise. Kyle Filipowski is still out there from Duke. Kevin McCullough could be going in the second round from Kansas here in day number 2. Some other interesting good player. How about another Colorado player still on the best available in KJ Simpson, the point guard? I mean, could there be 3 Buffaloes drafted in this NBA draft? That would be nuts to think about. So Jamal Shedd, the great point guard from Houston, is still out there available. We'll see what that all means going forward. But yeah, some very interesting picks coming up here in the second round of the NBA draft. Before we get to break, I'll try to answer this question as quickly as you can. I know it's going to be hard, but if you're a general manager of any team, are you more on the boat of, I don't care, I'll take a young guy and develop him, or I'll take an older guy like a Shireman, a Terrence Shannon that might be 23, 24, that might 22, 23, 24. I know what they are, but I know they can contribute. Which way are you leaning if you are a GM?
Ross, that's a great question. I think it's all about fit, because you have teams like the Celtics, like the Nuggets, like we mentioned, the Lakers, who it makes more sense to get a more veteran presence, veteran with air quotes here, a more veteran presence who can impact your winning instantly. But if you're someone like the Pistons or maybe the Wizards or someone who's really struggled as of late and just needs a best available player, you definitely are more willing to take a swing at a guy who has more upside.
All right, let's get to a break. When we come back, we'll wrap it up. Royals, a slump-busting win yesterday. The Rockies still in a slump. And pretty exciting news for a K-State baseball player. That's next on The Blitz.
Hola, soy Marie en el FNB Bank. Ahí ofrecemos diferentes cuentas de depósito que les puede ayudar a lograr sus goles financieros, ya sea de cuentas de cheques o de ahorros, a cuentas de cheques para negocios o una variedad de opciones de CDs. Estamos aquí para ayudarlo. Puede parar a nuestro banco que está al este del correo en Goodland o puede hablarnos a 785-890-2000 para trabajar conmigo o con algún otro miembro de FNB Bank.
When you walk into your local Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware, you'll see that Nick and the staff have a little bit of everything for the warmer months ahead. Keep the lawn in shape with mowers, blowers, and trimmers from Craftsman, Toro, and Ego. Freshen up the look of a room or the whole place with Benjamin Moore paints. Keep the family fed and happy with grills from Traeger, Weber, and Blackstone. And be sure to take advantage of the lower lumber prices. Plus, they're looking for people to join their amazing teams at Hoover Lumber Ace Hardware, with locations in Goodland and Colby. Open every day but Sunday.
If you're shopping for a banking institution, visit with Equity Bank of Hoxie, Grinnell, and Quinter, Kansas. The Equity Bank is heavily invested in local business and activities contributing in many ways back to their community. Their employees are involved with many organizations and area events. Plus, a lot of experience comes with that staff. You'll find valuable local assistance when you bank at the Equity Bank of Hoxie, Grinnell, Quinter, and other locations in Western Kansas. The Equity Bank, member FDIC.
With summer around the corner, that means harvest time in Kansas is almost here. When driving farm vehicles, don't forget to look up. Each year, dozens of farm workers die from electrocution when equipment like augers and sprayer arms contact power lines. Always remember to lower equipment extensions when moving. Use spotters when working near lines and report any damaged or sagging lines. A safety message from Midwest Energy, a customer-owned cooperative making energy work for you.
It's the Morning Blitz.
What is this, amateur hour?
Weekday mornings from 7 to 8 Mountain, 8 to 9 Central on 102.5 U Rock and the Rocking M app.
Can you explain to me why the NBA, when they trade picks, it's still drafted by this team but going to this team, instead of saying, well, the Suns have or the Timberwolves or the Nuggets have traded this pick to the Suns or vice versa, and the Suns are taking this. Instead, it's the Suns drafted this guy, but he's going to the T-Balls. Why do they do this? It's so confusing.
This is a great question.
Why? I find it to be dumb. I find it to be dumb.
I find it to be dumb, too. It
Thank
annoys
you.
me. I think it's a great question. However, I do have to go with the answer with, it does still annoy me. Let's be clear on that. But essentially, it's because those are for draft day picks or trades, rather, which technically haven't been finalized. In fact, some of them won't be finalized even today. You have to go through all the paperwork and all of the little, if the second round pick from 2026 ends up being the 35th or lower pick, then we keep it. But if it's this, it'll go to there and to here and to that.
So is there a chance that Deron Holmes could still go to the Suns if something falls through?
That's the thing, is you've already sort of agreed in principle.
I don't get that.
Maybe.
Don't make no
it's
sense.
definitely something that annoys me too.
Right,
That's a great question.
It does not make any damn sense to me. Why? It's so confusing. Like, oh, they picked this guy. Wait, no, he's going here.
Especially
Oh,
that,
my
what
gosh.
was it, the 25th or 26th pick that got traded like to the Knicks and then to the Wizards and then to someone else, where it was in like 3 different teams' hands over the course of the draft. And that was super confusing.
You don't have to confuse me any more than what I already am, people. That's the thing. Royals with a 5-1 win yesterday, a slump-busting 8th inning. The Royals offense was really scuffling until finally in the 8th inning they put it together. Vinny Pasquantino got things going. Salvador Perez with an RBI double. And then Lofton and Fermin able to drive in a few more runs as well. In a 5-run 8th, they come back and beat Miami 5-1. With that slump-busting 8th inning. Brady Singer, no decision, but worked into the 8th inning, allowed just 5 hits and just a single run in 5 Ks. He was very, very good, but in no decision. Royals, by the way, they actually open up a big 4-game series at home against the Cleveland Guardians starting tonight at 7:10 Central. Huge series starting tonight at 7:10 Central.
It's
sorry, go ahead.
On 790 KXXX.
Right.
I don't know if it's as big as the first time they played him because you were essentially fighting for the first spot in the Central, but maybe it means more now that you're sort of leaking down the standings.
Yeah, I think it's important. You're trying to kind of regain some momentum, and Cleveland's been a hard team to figure out this year. Simply because you're like, how are they so good?
That bullpen
they have so
crazy.
Remember, they lost They lost their top pitcher, and the season began. They don't have Terry Francona. They've just done a lot. They've been hitting the right buttons there in Cleveland.
Wild.
As for the Rockies, they lose 7-1 to the Houston Astros, just 3 singles and a double. Ryan Feltner was pretty good. Didn't allow really anything massively harming until the 7th inning when he gave up 4 runs. Or he gave up 2 runs there. So it was, like I said, I thought Ryan Feltner was fine, but no offensive support from the Colorado Rocky offense there. And also, congratulations to K-State shortstop. We talked about him before, Kalen Culpepper, as he was named to the D1 Baseball All-America second team. He is the first position player in school history, in Kansas State baseball school history, to earn such an honor. That's pretty darn cool.
I didn't.
A 3-run walk-off home run. A game-winning walk-off with a walk-off. His second walk-off hit of the season. In walk-off fashion. That baby's go.
Sorry for cutting you off there. What?
No, I should have known it was coming. I didn't know he was the first in school history, position player, that is. That's incredibly impressive, and obviously he's had a year worthy of it. I heard or saw that he was mocked as high as the first round. I knew he was good. Didn't know he was going up there.
32nd overall, which would be the very end, but it doesn't matter. I think he is a first-round talent. I look at him. He can do it all. He can hit for power. He can hit for average. He can field. He can run. He did show me a little lack of the game for some reason in the Virginia Regional, where he forgot to get in the right spot and the cutoff, and it just Kansas State did that a couple times. I'm kind of like, what are you doing? Come on, that's first grade stuff. Come on, buddy, get in the right spot there. A little crazy. Last 50 seconds here. The Knicks did get the job done with OG Anunoby. We talked about it yesterday's show. They did agree to a big-time deal, 5 years, $212.5 million contract.
I love it in theory. Getting OG back is a step in the right direction to try to compete at the top of the East, because it's essentially, I think, them and the Celtics now. But, man, holy overpay, Batman. That is a lot of money. It's a lot of money.
Great reference. That was wonderful. Let's see what happens tonight in night 2 of the NBA draft. We'll probably see Johnny Furphy come off the board, maybe even Kevin McCullough as well for Kansas. So we'll see what happens here in day 2.